Welcome back to Tony Northeastern, and I hope you're all keeping safe and well, and you're looking forward to another episode of me messing around on the railway. And this is how Tyne Dock is looking so far, but we're taking a small break from the station build to look at one of the smaller buildings that go with the Tyne Dock Station. I think it's a little oil lamp hut, and it normally sits there, so we shall have a look at what I'm talking about. It seems like a long time ago since we did the research video on the Tyne Dock Station, and there it is there. And that's the staiths for the mineral wagons, etc. So let's have a little look through these photographs. And there's the Tyne Dock Station, and there's the actual station itself. As you can see there, here is where the steps would have come up originally from the underpants, but I've made it slightly different to what we've got there. But this is the photograph we need to look at for the oil lamp hut, and if we just zoom in a little bit, we can almost get a size of the hut with that guy there just walking along. Looks like he's messing around with his camera there. So there we've got a rough idea on how tall the oil lamp hut is. There's no chimneys from what we can see, because that chimney behind it there belongs to this building here, which is another building that we will end up making, of course. So the main focus is that building there. So let's have one last look at this photograph before we start this mini project. If we look closely, these are actually sleepers, because you can see, if you look across that line there, you can see where the chairs have been bolted to these sleepers. So there's 11 sleepers there, 3mm each, so that's 33mm. Obviously there's not as many down this side, as you can see. So I reckon there's probably about 8 and 9 down that side. But for argument's sake, we'll call that 28mm. So now we got our dimensions for this build. So all I've got to do now is work out how I'm going to do it. We have another photograph here, and as you can see, we can just barely see the oil lamp hut there. You can see where the plate layers or the engine drivers have been walking around the corner to get to it, so there must be a door just around that corner, but without the photographs we don't know the details of what's around that corner, or whether it has a window. But I presume it would have a window, otherwise how would you see inside? I don't think it would have a light in there. I don't know, it might do, might have done. And here's some of the other photographs of the original Tyne Dock Station. I've had a little bit of a think on how I'm going to put together this oil lamp hut, and I've got to start from the ground up. So I've cut 4 little bases, 26 by 29. These are 2mm thick, and what I'm doing now is I'm going to cut some 1mm bases 28 by 29mm thick, and the idea is when this base gets glued to that base, I will cut out and leave a little bit in the middle for the doorstep. Now then, I've got some LC cut doors. I'm going to use those, and I'm going to use some Smart Model windows, LC 0900 scale. Well, I'm not going to use the curved bit, I just want the basic square windows like I've got here. So I've stuck them together, and that's how I'm going to make this build from the bottom up. So yeah, so obviously I'll cut out one of these doors, and here's one I've done earlier. Actually, this one's already been painted. Work out the width and then just leave enough of the card on the base for the doorstep, and then the rest will make up the walls and form them around the base, similar to what we did to the kiosk. Before we go any further, I thought I'd show you this drawing, or this rough sketch that I've made up. As you can see, I've been changing the dimensions left, right and centre just to get the proportions of this oil lamp hut to look, well, more or less what we have seen in the photograph. So the base that we've got here, I've made it 2mm or 4mm smaller all around, so we can build this up in layers. So there'll be a card layer and then a sleeper layer. Now I did think of using ordinary sleepers, but there's a couple of things wrong here. I'll have to fill in all the holes that are underneath the chairs, because I have to cut all the chairs off and then fill all the holes, and they're quite thick and chunky, these sleepers, so we'll not be using them. So I've decided to use coffee stirring sticks instead, because it's a natural wood and I think it'll look better painted and then weathered with the weather powders. It'll look a lot better than plastic, I think, but we shall see as we go along. So the next thing to do is to cut out some walls in some 1mm card, so that's what we're going to do next. As you can see, I've marked out the walls and now I'm just separated them. I found it easier to mark all 4 walls together rather doing one at a time, and I've already pre-scored them as well, so all I've got to do now is cut out for the doorstep on the bottom. So these are just fold around the base with a bit of luck, like so. But before I can do that, I've got to cut out for the doorstep. So I shall mark a 1mm line from the base, because that's how thick the card is, and cut out all the doorsteps, and then we can start gluing all these together. I've now glued the walls to the base, and I've added a door to the front there. Now what I've done with the door is I've taken 1mm off the top and off the bottom, and it still makes for a good 5'8" door, and as you can see, the photographer there can still walk through the door without ducking, as it were. And the windows, yes, the windows, I'm not going to sink them in like I normally would do with buildings. I'm going to super glue them to the top surface like that, and then once we glue the coffee stirring sticks onto the walls, you can see they just sit below the coffee sticks, so otherwise it'd be too deep, I would have thought, if we had stuck them inside the walls. So that's what we're going to do there, and hopefully once this is all cladded up, then we can think about the other details that we need to add to this cube, as it were. What we have here is a packet of 1,000 coffee stirring sticks. I paid about, I think it's about £5 including postage for these. So instead of robbing your coffee shops, you can buy them. Now these are 4mm wide, so they're slightly wider than a sleeper, but I'm hoping that the effect, like you saw in the photograph, will come through when we come to use them. Right, I have also now painted these lamp, oil lamp huts. As you can see, I've done 3 in NER red and 1 in the 1960s blue. Obviously that one's got to go on Tyne Dock Station, but the rest of them will just be dotted around the layout. So now I've got the task of measuring and cutting hundreds of pieces of these coffee stirring sticks. This is the preferred weapon of choice for cutting up these coffee stirring sticks. So what we'll do, we'll just cut off the tip of the coffee stirring stick, and I've already measured the height of the first one I'm going to do, which is roughly 27mm, probably slightly under, and I've marked a line here on my little jig so I can cut them all roughly the same. So it just makes it that little bit easier. And then all I do then is just take any sharp edges off on a bit of sandpaper, and sometimes it flakes away on the edges, so we just clean the edges up on the sandpaper as well. Now because it's 5mm wide, we need to obviously put a saw cut down the centre of that to make it look like we've got 2 planks we're cutting here at once rather than just the one. So I'm just eyeing up the saw to the centre, using the 2 fingers to press down hard and also to rest the saw up against the fingernails, and then just run the saw backwards and forwards a few times. But we're not cutting all the way through, just enough to scribe the line like so. And then we can once we've done enough of them, we can glue them to the side of the building. Yes, what I'm doing now is I'm just gluing on these planking, if you like, or the sleepers, and it doesn't seem to be taking that long, so it's quite quick, to be honest. So once you've scribed them down the centre and sanded them up, it's a case of just laying them on. I've done 1.5 sides already, as you can see, beginning to take shape, and yeah, very therapeutic. I'm doing one side at a time because obviously when I come to do the windows, I'm going to have to notch or cut some smaller pieces to go around, but on the sides it's just nice and easy. Just drop them in there and let the wood glue do its job. And so far I haven't had to trim any of them down the lengths yet, so I think the dimensions have worked out spot on for these 5mm width coffee stirring sticks, but I think I might have to trim one down for the corner there. But if you look in the photograph, it might have had to do that, I don't know, but I'm certainly going to have to do something there. So we should end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It'll be 11, so it's exactly to the photograph. As for cutting down the length of these sleepers, it is quite easy. I need to just trim about 1mm off, and basically when you cut into it, you're kind of following the grain of the timber, so you're not going to take loads off, if you know what I mean. So it's just a nice equal amount that you need to cut off, and then just rub it down with the old sandpaper. And then that should fit in place, and it'll leave enough edge there for the next one to butt up to it, like so. So we shall now glue this one in place. So here's one of the huts complete. I've only got another 3 more left to do, and yeah, quite straightforward to clad, really. There's only a few places where I've had to split them down the middle, like this corner for instance, and here as well I've had to trim one to get it to fit, but apart from that, yeah. Right, so 3 more left to do. So now I'm just flattening any high spots that there might be on the base, and just by turning it around on this piece of sandpaper, and I'll do the same to the top side as well. Yeah, so it's pretty reasonably level top and bottom, which is good. I've also added some supports on the inside, and I've also glazed the windows as well. I won't be blackening it out because once the roof goes on you won't be able to see inside these huts anyway. So that's where we are. We're almost ready to start doing the roofs. We've gone back to the drawing board to design how I'm going to do the roof. I mean, we had some rough estimated sizes here, but now I've worked it all out. We've got a 6mm height between the top of the 7mm to the first bend. So this is the bit we're going to be focused on first. This piece that folds across and then comes back down again, and here is the pattern for that. But before I drew the pattern I had to make up the pitches. So there's our 6mm pitch over a distance of 27mm. So obviously these run that way once they're glued in, so that will run across the width of the shed, if you like, rather than along the depth of the shed. And so here we are, we've got a 9mm height, 3mm of that goes into the shed, so then we're only BC, and once it's all glued together only 6mm of that, and then we've got the 6mm pitch on the roof, and we've worked that out to be 15mm. Yeah, so the way I got the measurements for this was I had to make the roof supports first, because it's the pitch that governs the actual size of the pattern for the roof. And here we are. Here is our little pitch rafters, as it were. So I made a template as before, and all I'm doing now is drawing round the template and cutting out 8 of these. There'll be 2 of these for each roof. And here's our roof pattern. So what we do, we cut this piece out and this piece out, and we'll fold it here, here, in here, and that then should go over the rafters, as it were, along that red line. So they'll be glued inside that red line like so, and then folded around once they're cut out. So I shall continue cutting these out. I'll cut out the first pattern and we shall see if it fits. If you're drawing out a template, make sure you cut away the pencil line. Do not leave the pencil line on, because the point of the pencil, no matter how sharp you get it, it always ends up thicker than you want it to be. So I just take the pencil line right off, and hopefully that should give me the pitch that I'm after. Well, it's all about trial and error. I was not happy with this one. It was too high, so I remade it again. That means remaking the trusses. And here we have the sample, or the second sample, and it doesn't sit as high, so I've taken 2mm off the side, and I've also narrowed the width across the apex. That was 10mm and this is 8mm, so that more or less makes the slope either side more uniform, and it doesn't stick up as much. I think I prefer that. So I shall continue with the roof. Now that I'm happy with the roofs, especially the height, I can start adding all the tabs. Now we need 2 strips of 0.5 card, one 7mm and one 6mm. Cut them into 10mm pieces and then fold them in half. And then we shall glue these into the apexes just on these ends, one there and one there. That's where the 6mm tabs go. So what we do, we just push that in there so it's just about flush with the edge of that roof there, just flush there. And then we'll do the same to the other side. Just drop that in there. Make sure that the tabs are facing each other. So that's the lower tabs. Make sure they're flush with the ends, like so. Now the upper roof tabs, 7mm strips, we glue them to the underside of these roofs. And then we wait for them to dry. Just make sure they're in the corner. We'll wait for these to dry, and then we can fold them in over once they are dry. So that's what that looks like at the moment. Once the glue goes off, we can push those tabs down. Once the glue on the tabs has gone off, all we can do then is just press them down and then fold them to the edge of this roof, so we get the slope going that way. So we can do that now, and then the final thing to do is to put on our end slopes, if you like. Just make sure all the tabs are at 90 degrees, and because we've already got the sizes for these, because the height from the tip there to the first fold is 7mm, and from this corner here to the tip is 10mm. So we need a strip of card of 17mm with a 7mm line, and then what we do then, we measure the width of this rooftop, if you like, which is roughly 27mm, and then we then can work out the centre of the 27mm on that line, draw a line, then we've got our shape, and then we just cut out our apex and then glue it onto our roofs, and we should end up with something like this. Yes, it does look a little bit weird at the moment, but I have to check with the photographs to see if we've got all these details right. But if we look at it from that view, which is the view of the photograph, I think it is a close match. After gluing the end slopes on, I put some super glue around these edges where I have glued them end slopes on, just to give that an extra strength. Not only that, to sand them later on once they are fitted into the oil lamp huts. Now they are quite a tight fit, so we might have a little bit more to sand off the corners, hence why I used the super glue. But that one will fit in quite nicely. A little bit tight, but it'll go in quite nicely. Then we just put the card glue all the way around the edges. That helps soften the card up as well, so it makes it a lot easier for the roofs to slip into this recess on the hut. Just spreading the glue around, make sure it's nice and evenly coated. Right, now we can push that into the hut. Well, nice snug fit. Now we've got to do now is just check that we've got the height the same all the way around. Sometimes you may just have to push the corner a little bit to get the height to match. Yeah, so you see what I mean? So we've got a low and then high spot. Just got to push that gently into the corner there, and hopefully it'll end up even all the way around, and you should end up with something like this. Now it's time to sand down the edges, make these joints nice and smooth. Hence why we use the super glue on these joints, to give a hard edge so you can rub them back. And I'm using 320 grit for this, and it just gives that little bit of a smooth edge, and it doesn't fur it up either. I mean, sometimes when you sand card it furs up, but no, we've got a nice smooth edge, which would be ideal when we come to paint it, because you won't be able to see the joints. We're looking at this photograph one last time just to get one last detail, and that's the metal banding that goes right around the top of the whole structure there. You can see it. That's what's probably tying in all these sleepers. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to use a little bit of 0.25 by 0.75 mil polystyrene plastic strip to do that, and that should finish off this hut. But before we do that, we just want to have a look at the height of the roofs there. I think I may have got it just a fraction too high, but let's have a closer look. Maybe the comparisons, yeah, maybe it is slightly high, I don't know, but we'll see once it's painted. And so that's what we'll do now. We'll add that banding strip to finish off this hut. Moving on a little bit, as you can see, I've added the strap all the way around now, and I've added a door handle to all the doors as well. And to finish off, which I think will complement the roof, is I've added a strip of paper 3.5 wide all the way around. That's what I'm going to do, and it'll hide these timbers, and it'll make it look as if the roof flows as it would do in the photograph with the roof, so it's all in once. When that's painted, you don't see the timbers on the top. I think that will work. So we're almost there for painting these up, which I'm quite looking forward to seeing how these come out. I have mixed three colours together here, a gloss 9, which is a brown, matte 63 and a matte 33, hopefully to try and get the same texture that we have in the photograph. Now straight away, as soon as I've put that paint on, I think I've got the effect that I'm after. I can also dip in and out the other colours to change the tone of the wood, so we got a lighter brown and a darker brown going together. So it'll be interesting to see how this turns out. And I've made a little bit of a start this side now. Where I've scribed a plank there, you can hardly see it, so what I might have to do there is use the back of the scalpel and highlight that line there. As you can see, that's too wide there, so I might have to highlight that like we have here. And don't forget, I've got the weathering powders to add to this as well to get that grimy look. So I shall carry on with the painting of this hut and see where we go from there. But so far it's looking quite good. It's interesting to get the two different browns as well as the black in there. What I'm doing now is I'm just dabbing a bit of black onto the brush, and I'm just going to touch the edges along the base there of the hut. That's all. And then get a Q-tip and then just gently brush up. Like we've done here, just to give that black look along the base. And now we move on to the roofs. I've mixed two colours to get the colour that I'm going to use, and that's a matte 33 and a matte 72. The matte 72 is a grey, and I've mixed the two together and I've got this almost black but not quite black, and it looks like it's worn away asphalt. Nice colour, that nice texture, and I think I'll stick with that. And here's one I've done earlier. Right, so there's only one thing left to do now, and that's to add some weathering powder. I'm really happy with the way that the roofs have turned out. I think it was well worth putting the super glue across the joints and then rubbing them down, because it's really rounded over the corners, and I wasn't expecting that kind of finish after it had been painted. So all we have to do is just lightly add a little bit of weathering powder. You see it's going dark already. I've already had a little play with the back side of this just to see what it would look like, and I think I don't need any more than that. I think that is it. Maybe add a little bit of white here to lighten it up. I'm using the same brush to add a little bit of white, maybe a little bit of white across the top, just to highlight those edges. Yeah, but I think that is that. Right, so there's only one thing left to do now. Just put these on the layout and have a look at them in situ. In the photograph, the hut is sitting where it is, but in the photograph, the underpass coming up from the lower street level comes up down this side. So I'm thinking to myself, should that really sit there? Or should it sit on the platform up there? Or should it sit by the signal over here? So let's have a look. Yes, so I am thinking about where to put this now. This little build has created a problem, a good one, but a problem nevertheless. So should it go on the platform? Obviously I'll move all that other bits and bobs out the way. Or should it go down by the signal? Clear the brambles, put a concrete base in and place it there. Let me know what you think in the comments. Right, so it was nice to have something different to tinker around with. I do like the way that this little building has turned out. And all we could see in the photograph is that. And now we have a full building. So, I think that's all from me this week. I think I've waffled on enough. What do you know? Right, so next time we shall continue with Tyne Dock Station. So until then, stay safe everybody, and thanks again for watching. Bye for now.